Welcome back to another video, guys. I usually don't make videos related to college or anything like that, but I know right now is college application season, and right next to me I have the perfect person, Yadah, to talk about university, things we wish we knew before university. Now, before we get into that, do you want to kind of give them context as to who you are?
Okay, so hi guys, my name is Yadah. I am a third year student at EMORY University. I'm currently a human health major, and I'm going to be talking more about that probably in a subsequent video.
Yes.
But yes, and I have my own page called Think College, where I basically just talk about my experiences or get advice as to what I wish I knew before I went to uni. Basically about what this video is about.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've been doing that page for about a year. Even though I'm not as consistent as I would like to be, I hope that all of the videos that I've posted have been helpful to people who are still following. So please go and check it out. It's at Think College.
Yes, I'm gonna put everything like that Instagram, maybe your personal Instagram if you want. Yeah, so I'm gonna put all of that down below. But university, especially giving context, both of us went to high school in Ghana, and I go to Georgia Tech, and there are a lot of things that you don't know about college in general, and then even more if you're an international student. And we were saying that because we're only children, because we didn't have any older siblings going to university, so many things we didn't know about. So we're gonna kind of talk about things that we wish we knew and tactical, tangible advice to help, maneuver university. Should we start off with textbooks?
Sure. I feel like that's something that a lot of us can relate to, especially if you're a second year, a third year, or fourth year right now. So freshman year, every time you go to any class, you get the syllabus paper sheets or whatever form it's in, and then it has like the required course readings for your class. So it could be anything between 2 books or 4 books, but the thing that you're not aware of is like the price of the books, right? Because I feel like most people, when you go to uni for the first time, like you go to uni, you don't really know how much books cost. Because at least for us living in Ghana, like the textbook came with the tuition that we were paying, so we didn't really know how much an individual textbook or an individual workbook cost. So now you get this course list, and they're saying it's required. So you're thinking, okay, yes, I have to get these books. Like that's what it is.
Yeah.
So there's a Barnes and Nobles probably somewhere around you, and then you go to the Barnes and Nobles and pick out the books that's in the thing. But I mean, ideally, nobody's actually taking one class. We're all taking let's say anything between 4 to 5 classes a semester and achieve that 15 credit requirement. So you go to Barnes and Nobles, you're picking these books. At the end of the day, your total bill is probably going to be anything between $250 or $300 on textbooks for a single semester. Yeah. And for books that you probably read only for I don't know, a week or 3 weeks max, So a lot of things happen, you spend a lot of money on that. And then at the end of the day, you realize that, okay, we're switching books pretty fast, or even some books, you're only looking at certain sub-chapters and not even the whole chapter. Yes, there are options to rent out the books, but that's still a lot of money when you actually think about, the grand scheme of things, because there are other cheaper options. So I feel like for me, one thing I realized was that there are websites like LibGen, or there are website like LibGen and I think Z Library, which allow you to download these PDF of the textbooks for free. That's something that I wish I knew, because I would have saved $300 my freshman year. Yeah. And I feel like that's the experience for most people. So.
Yeah, even thinking about the money I spent on textbook freshman year hits me, because I'm like, wow. And the thing is, I'm gonna put everything the links down below so you guys can use it if you need it. But even with textbooks, a lot of the classes, you don't even use the textbook. So I would wait a week or 2 to actually see if you end up using the textbook, because a lot of the classes I had, textbooks were it said required, but it was really not part of the semester. I think the ones that you really need are the ones where you need to those codes that you get to do homeworks and stuff like that. Yes. Those you definitely need to get, but there's so many alternative cheaper platforms that you can get it on. And if you can't get all the textbooks on the website that Yadah is saying, usually if you just type the textbook name and ebook, you find textbooks for $20, $15 that you would buy at Barnes and Noble for $100, $150. So definitely do your research as far as textbooks and save you the extra $200 that you can use on Uber Eats and other happy things in life. Speaking of textbooks and things and materials that you need to be successful in college, I think scheduling and organizing for the semester. How was that like for you?
So I think for me, one thing I wish I knew is that you can't bring your high school energy into
university.
They are completely different circles.
Yeah.
Like, just because you've been waking up at 8 a.m. or 7:30 to go to school doesn't mean that it applies to university.
It's
like,
different.
Don't even, at least for me personally, I feel like I should have tried it. I think some people are morning people, and yes, they are productive early in the morning, but for me, it wasn't the right thing for me. Oh, no. Having organic chemistry at 8 a.m. was not the best. And I feel like, even though some people were thriving in that class at that time in the morning, I think for me, it was just, I wasn't able to keep up with the readings as much as I would have, because of course I was too busy trying to get ready for the class in the morning. So I feel like, honestly, for me personally, I realized that having like later classes, so like let's say 12 p.m. or like 1 p.m. those kind of classes, like afternoon classes, were much more productive for me as compared to the morning classes. I don't know if you
absolutely. I think like definitely don't bring your high school energy, because I was thinking the same thing. Like in high school, we wake up at 6:30 or 5. Like, we wake up so early for school, but like, trust me, once you go to university, and I used to watch people say this, I was like, no, me, I'll be responsible. But the reality is that I think when you're in high school, you live such a structured life, and your entire life is high school. You have nothing else to worry about. When you go to university, you're kind of entering like adulthood, so you start getting introduced to things outside of school, which occupies time outside of the structured, 8 a.m. start, like school starts at 3 p.m. So you have things going on even when you're not in classes, which makes it harder for you to wake up in the morning, because sometimes you might have like things that clubs and things that go on till 8 p.m. and you're now coming to do your homework, True. So if you're a morning person, sure, but if not, and you are just gonna do it because you're like, oh, I did it in high school, definitely rethink it. But also maybe you need to, I don't know, I had to learn for myself, because freshman year I had an 8 a.m. class. I think we could miss a maximum of 4 classes before failing the class. I missed all 3 in the first 2 weeks. So for the rest of the semester, by force, like I had to make sure I went to the class. But there's stuff like that, and I think we had different opinions about this, but like having classes all clumped up together and separate. What are your thoughts on that?
So Marita is against this, but I'm totally for having space in between your classes. So normally, I know that ideally, like the closest time you can have in between 2 classes is 15 minutes. At least at Emory, that's what it is. So some people, they do like 15 minutes, like back to back, and if you're rushing across campus to your next class and stuff like that. And I feel like that could be counterproductive in certain cases. For me, I feel like, let's say something happens and I'm not able to do the reading for that class for that day.
True.
Having like maybe an hour or like an hour or 2 between each class during the day, it helps me at least have a buffering time where I can sit down and read and like prepare for the class. Or else that might just eat into the schedule of something else, and then I might be behind the class, and it just creates a whole other situation that I don't really want to be in. So I feel like for me personally, I think having a gap in between each class is very helpful.
No, I agree. I think if I was as like if I knew I wasn't going to, okay, this is my reason why I have to clump them together. So if I have like, let's say 2 classes in the morning, let's say 10 to 11 and then 11 to 12, and I have 1 class at 5 p.m. From experience, like 4 times out of 5 times I skipped the 5 p.m. class, because it's like you're in the mood to do class, school, whatever. Now you've finished, now you've gone home, now you've eaten, now you've changed, and you're like relaxing. That 1 class to go back
Is
into
it worth it?
It's just like, what, especially if they don't count attendance, it's like, okay, do you know what? But then don't do that. But like, it's just a tendency. I've even realized, like, all my friends, if you have 1 class that's like a little bit detached, you're so out of the school mood by that time that
That's
like
true.
It's so hard to actually get yourself out and go to that class.
That's true.
Did you use any scheduling apps?
So my favorite scheduling app is Coursicule. I feel like I've said it a million times on my page, Think College, and yeah, it's very easy to use, very efficient. You can easily print from it. It doesn't require like as much bad hassle as other scheduling apps are. I feel like that's definitely what I recommend for everybody who's starting out uni. Just put in your classes there, have them all
Yeah.
in one space, and you can even print it out, and then post it on your wall, your bedroom wall, or wherever you want, or have it as a screensaver on your laptop or anything. It's very dynamic, and you can use it for anything.
Yeah, and you can send it to your friends and see like, oh, who's gonna be in what class, and do stuff like that at the beginning of the semester. I use this app called Notion a lot. It's not even, okay, maybe not for scheduling, but like staying organized as a whole. So I know a lot of people, when I went to college, I joined like a business fraternity. It's co-ed, so it's called fraternity, but like the advice like my big gave me was to have like an Excel spreadsheet with all the credits you need to take before graduating, and then you can do this thing where like if you put a certain thing, you can change the color of the box. So if you complete it, you can change it to green and stuff like that. So you can kind of see what courses you need to take before you graduate and keep track of whether you're on your 3-year plan, 4-year plan, 5-year plan. At Georgia Tech, they're extremely like ambitious people that want to just graduate in 3 years and things like that. So depending on your timeline, you can definitely have a spreadsheet to see what courses you need to take. Notion I use for just like organizing, note taking. There are people that make such aesthetic notes on like Notion, but I'm not that person. I just type. But I'll definitely link down like the people that I watch. I don't know if you do this, but I watch people studying.
I know what you mean. I have people who like have studying pages on Instagram, and they have like all these cute aesthetics, and I'm like, wait, I can't write like you.
Yeah, no, I need to just watch it to get motivated to study. So I'm gonna link some of that down below. And another thing I learned was Google Calendar. A lot of people, especially in like the professional scene, use Google Calendars if you want to go for like to see someone. Some friends low-key even ask for Google Calendar invites, which is like, it's interesting, but like Google Calendar is used a lot to plan, as well as you're able to know what other scheduling things are. And if you're in like an organization, they can share their calendar with you, so automatically all the events for that club will be put in your Google Calendar. And I think when you're meeting up with anyone in like the professional corporate setting, you use Google Calendars to send invites. And I think speaking of all of that kind of stuff, you have a lot of insight on LinkedIn, internships, and stuff like that.
Oh, but right before we go into LinkedIn, I was going to say like I'm also a very big Google Calendar person. Like I'm in love with color coding, and I love how you're able to put the reminders in there. So I 110% recommend that. Before the start of each semester, once you have you're set on what you want to take, and you're set on like maybe your job or your research position, or you're set on any other thing that's related to you academically on campus or even non-academically, like please take the time to put those things in there ahead of time. So even if something's happening in November, even if it's like August, just put something in there, put it in there, and just like have it, because at the end of the day, you're going to get to those days, God willing. So it helps you to be able to plan like, okay, so when am I free? Am I free on this day? Rather than you sort of forgetting certain things that are going to happen, and it helps you plan your time much better.
True. And speaking of that, like one thing I really like about university is when you're in high school, like maybe 2 weeks before an exam, you know that you're having an exam, unless it's end of the year. But like in college, at the beginning of the semester, when they give you your syllabus, every single test, homework, exam that's going to happen in the entire semester. So by putting all of that in ahead of time, if you want to like take a trip, or if you're going to do something at certain points in time, you can plan ahead. Yeah.
I was telling Marintia before I came that somebody actually recommended that if, let's say, you're trying to become a doctor or a lawyer or a public health consultant or any other sort of job out there that you like to work towards. So let's say you want to work in this institution, like an institution like the WHO or like the Red Cross or the UN. You can actually look people up in the positions that you want to be in. So let's say I go on LinkedIn and I Google, let's say, a consultant at WHO. So I can just pick a random person who I know, works there and is a consultant, and then sort of look at what they've done. So of course, LinkedIn shows you education. It shows you work experience, skills. It gives you a very solid breakdown of what exactly that person has done in their career life or towards their career to get to where they are today. So I feel like you can use that as an opportunity to sort of work backwards and think, okay, right now I'm a freshman in uni and I want to become this person. Like, what did this person do to become what they are today? So I feel like by having that sort of information, you can be like, okay, this internship is there, like this internship doing their undergrad, so maybe I can do this internship, or what is this internship about? Or you can even sort of connect with them and measure them. I feel like that's another thing that people forget that they can do on LinkedIn. Like, it's not just you can actually connect, even if they're strangers. I'm sure they'll be more than happy to help you, especially since everybody's working remotely right now.
Yeah.
So I feel like you're the high probability of you getting a reply.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's worth a shot to do that as well.
No, 100%. I think networking is like such a big thing. Before you go to college, you're like, oh, I want to go to university because, you know, the opportunities of networking, that's why I want to go to this university, But the reality is, when you actually go to university and you make your group of friends, if you don't take the initiative to join clubs or meet new people or like do these things, you will not network. It's the same as any other setting. So to actually get the value of like networking and things like that, you need to do things like what Yadah is saying. Go on LinkedIn, you reach out to like strangers that like work in the company, the position that you want to work in or whatever. You can just message them, go for coffee chats if they're in your area. So another thing I really wish I knew before university was location, because you know that I want to transfer to New York, and you see, it's not just a matter of like, oh, New York's pretty, that's where I want to transfer. For me, like at least career wise, I didn't think I was going to be interested in what I'm interested in now until I got to my university. Which is like more creative things like YouTube, you know, design, fashion, content creation. But because I didn't know that that's what I would want to do in the future, when I went to Georgia Tech, and Georgia Tech is not really aligned with that, like I now want, a lot of what happens for jobs like that is like the city, not really the school. And Atlanta is weird because it's like, you know, it's an up and coming like entertainment industry, but at the same time it's still not as accessible as a place like LA or New York, right? So for me, like a big thing is like, oh, I really want to move to New York. So make sure like your career and your lifestyle and your personality is like compatible with the location.
Yeah, 110%. Like for me, first of all, I don't know if you know this, but I went to high school, like junior and senior year of high school in New Jersey.
Oh, so, what?
Yes. So I finished in New Jersey. So I finished America. Okay. So and I finished in this town, little town in New Jersey. It's called Lebanon, New Jersey. Nobody knows about it. It's like a very secluded place. And so I finished there, and New Jersey, first of all, is the East Coast, so it's really cold. I was not really that kind of girl, and you know, I'm from Ghana, so I like the heat a lot. So I think for me, I knew East Coast schools were on my list. Okay. But then I was like, for me to even press that send, it was an issue, because I was like, I can't do that code again. Or like at the end of the day, like I know the bread that was inside that situation when it was every time was, you know, November, December, that time, January, stopping the snow, slipping on the sidewalk. No, I was tired of that. So I think for me, I was like, I knew I wasn't at one place. So and I knew I wanted a good school as well, and I knew I wanted to do something in healthcare. I mean, at that point it was like medical school, whatever. Yeah. So I didn't even know about EMORY at all. It was I remember that day I even heard about it. Like I came downstairs and my uncle was like, you know, there's a school called EMORY in Atlanta. Like like why not check it out? Like you know, what's that? But for me, because I was like from Ghana, most Ghanaians are in the upper East Coast. Yeah. So you know, Boston. Yeah. North Carolina, South Carolina, New York, New Jersey, like that's where most people are. So I hadn't really heard about any Ghanaian in Atlanta. Like that's not even a place where people from Ghanaian schools, international schools go to. So I was like, oh, okay, well, like let's see what's up. So I did my own research and I'm like, oh wow, like this place is warm. The school is good. It's actually a really good school. Like, on Marita's point as well, I feel like for me, weather was a big thing. Location was also another big thing. I knew EMORY was close to Atlanta, even though it's not in the heart of Atlanta like Georgia Tech is. But I knew that I needed a sort of place that was near the city. I needed a place with people that I could relate to, and I knew that I didn't even know about the CDC. That's another cool thing. So for me, now that I want to get an MPH as well. You know, having the CDC on campus is an advantage, and you get to meet people and network people. So I feel like, you know, thinking about those companies that you eventually want to work with, or in your field, or companies that are like known in your field, like, and seeing universities that are close by, universities that are like they normally get recruiters from, or they normally go to recruit. I think that's a very good thing to also look at as well in terms of when you're picking your unis.
You're right.
The reality is, it could have even been worse if we went to a much more rural town. You know, getting around is a very big issue in the United States as a whole. It's not as convenient as the UK. So I feel like you also need to think about that, like, I mean, when you're going grocery shopping or whatever, like, is every day going to be Uber? Like, what is the most economical way of getting around? You know, there's so many things you have to take into consideration.
Right. So, if you're watching this and you're applying to university right now and you have questions about other things, about things we didn't talk about, please comment it down below. And if you want any help, you can, you know, DM Think College, Yadah, and I'm gonna put all that information down below. So thank you so much.
And I feel like this is a time for us to also plug in our schools. So I go to every university.
That's
and
right.
she goes to Georgia Tech, right?
Yeah.
So these are schools in Atlanta. And I know Atlanta is not a place where Ghanaians normally look to apply to.
True.
So I feel like you should, if you want any, if you have any questions about these two schools are in Atlanta, or even going to school in Atlanta, please DM us or contact us.
Yes, guys. Do you know how happy I'll be if a Ghanaian person comes to my school? Because like the ASA community is all Nigerian. All my close friends are Nigerians, and I love them. I love them. But then, like, they always make fun of me for my egg. And like, I just want another person. Exactly. And I just want another person to be able to relate to me.
Exactly.
So, guys.
So I feel like more people should definitely learn about Atlanta. I'd always call Atlanta like warm Boston, because at least for me, we're at our schools, for instance, like they're predominantly white institutions. So we don't really feel like, I don't know what to say, like it doesn't really change anything. Like you're not any less of a person just because you go to school in Atlanta or anything. But I feel like when people hear Atlanta, they're thinking of drugs, guns, strippers, what else? Like just all those things in general. But like, there are actually good institutions there. So please check us out, check our schools out, and let us know if you have any questions.
Yes, and on that note, thank you for joining me, and I will see you guys next video. Bye. Hey, there we go.
아침을 깨우는 네 목소리, 머리를 빗는 네 빗소리, 밖엔 비가 오나 봐 들리는 빗방울들이 땅에 떨어지는 소리, 전해지는 전생고. 대체 뭐야 너는 비법이, 아침에 일어나서 부은 눈이 너무 아름다운 너희들로 조금만 더 누웠길 바래. 조금만 이제는 어디까지 보다 잤지, 여기서부터 다시 보면 되겠지. 넌 틀어놓을 테니까 이 영화를 넌 봄에 먹을 맥주 한 캔과 과자를 사. 우린 하루 종일 뒹굴거리면서 다시 뒹굴거리고, 또 입을 맞추면서 다시 입을 맞추네. 또